Good evening, everybody. I'm Jonathan Higgins,
I'm Rich Carlson. Hello, guys.
and we are the Scanner Guys. Good evening, everybody, and hopefully having a great week. I can't believe it's the last full week of June.
Yeah, it's going to be July in what, just a couple days? It's going to be, that's crazy. Yeah, it's where is this summer gone?
Yeah, where has the summer gone? I mean, it's really moving right along. We are going to be open during the week of July, but the thing is we're not going to be shipping at Scanner
Yeah.
Master. We're going to be doing some inventory that week, so there's no shipping on that first week of July. So our phones will be still open, so you'll be able to still talk
Yep.
and ask the experts questions. So tonight's show. Speaking of asking questions, it's your turn to ask us questions. So, as Rich likes to call it, Romper Room, we're going to do a show that's basically all your questions. So, we're going to have a lot of
That's
fun
right.
tonight. So, if you have questions, post them in the chat right now. As soon as we're done with our presentation, we will dive right into Romper Room and we will answer all those questions. So, start filling out those questions in the chat right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We try to do these. What are we averaging? About once a month or once every other month, Rich?
Yeah, about every other month to do it like this. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're excited about that, and we hope that you guys like this as well. We also have, so, excuse me, something that's really cool on the scanner.
Have a drink of water.
Yeah, on the Scanner Guys website, the scannerguys.weebly.com, you can vote for the next topic of the show. So we're
That's right.
actually have that poll up on the website. So once the broadcast is done, visit our website and vote. And we would love to see what show topic you pick for next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Make your, yeah, do like you, well, you can't vote like you're in Chicago. You can't vote early and vote often. You can only vote once, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
that we can only vote once with this.
Yeah. Oh, please, even if you can vote more than once, just vote one time. Let's make it legit and pick the topic that you want to talk about or that you want us to talk about, and we'll talk about it.
That's for sure. And look, we brought back by popular demand the three-way screen, so you can see us and see the slide. So tonight's topic is Ask the Scanner Guys, and as always, Rich, what are we brought to you by?
Scanner Master.
So let's dive right into this presentation right now. And tonight's topic of discussion, our syllabus, is Rich has created a mini shack. So this is going to be a really cool thing to check out. It's actually, you can see it right behind Rich. We're going to show you a close-up shot of that. And we're also going to talk about shack mounts. And then we're going to dive into the old Scanner Master, Scanner Guys mailbag. And we're going to read some emails that we've gotten recently. And then, last but not least, we're going to answer your questions. So it's going to be a fun night tonight. If you're just joining us, we hope that you tune in each and every week. This is what we do. We talk scanners, and we have a topic of
Hmm.
discussion, and then we dive right into your questions. So if you're a first-time viewer, welcome, welcome. So this photo is quite interesting, Rich. It's
Oh, I
completely
love this.
completely out of cardboard.
I love this photo. I first found this photo a couple of years ago, and I actually posted it as a shack picture on the Radio Reference Shack Pictures forum. And I think I had more comments on that post than any other one. Now, I can't take credit for this. This is not something that I made. It's just some pictures I found, but it was so awesome. Everything made out of cardboard, the file cabinets, the computer screens. And I just, whoever did this spent a lot of time and effort and had some blast. I think I did that for an April Fool's post on the forums page, and some people thought it was serious. It was like, wait a minute, is that a real computer?
Yeah, I mean, it's got two keyboards, two two screens. I see a styrofoam phone.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Yep.
lot doing there, and
Yeah,
that.
look at the file cabinets, or I mean, the whole thing, and even the computer tower. It's very well done. Whoever did this, my hat's off to you. If I was wearing a hat.
Yeah, totally. I love the. I love it. Even the chair is made out of styrofoam as
Yeah.
well.
Even the cup is made out of cardboard.
So, if you want to show off your shack, there's the email address that you want to email. It's thescannerguys@gmail.com. That's thescannerguys@gmail.com. So, you want to make sure you email us your shack photos and, of course, your stupid scanner tricks. We love to see those. So, certainly send those over to us. So, we'll be happy to see them, and then we'll share them in an upcoming broadcast.
Yep. Yeah, we're always looking for more shack ideas, and sometimes we might even steal some of your ideas and do it ourselves.
Yeah, or you may give someone else a great shack idea and go from there.
Yeah, yeah. Plagiarism it's bad in college, great in shack building.
And that's for sure. I just saw somebody just voted in our poll, so
Cool.
hopefully, it's going to be pretty interesting how this will go. We
Yeah.
have for three topics. It's either the Home Patrol 2, what's the big deal
Hmm.
about that and why you should own it. We have odd accessories, scanner accessories, that is. And then we
Hmm.
have classic scanners. So those are the three topics you can choose from for next week's show. So you're going to
Yep.
pick the topic, and then we're going to discuss it.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. We really do want to do the topics that you want to talk about because, after all, that's the whole reason we're here. So, if you don't want to listen to us talk about this, then tell us what you want us to talk about, and we'll be glad to do it. And also, if you have other ideas, put them in the comments. Let us know. We do keep a list of topic suggestions, and as we get material and times available, we do we'll do those. So we have an entire list of those. We do keep track of it.
Yeah, so definitely keep them coming because we love to read these comments and
Hmm.
definitely your show topics. I mean, a lot of our great shows have
Yep.
actually came from our audience.
Yeah. Can you give the web address one more time?
Yes, so the web address is thescannerguys@weebly.com.
Cool. And that's WEEBLY.com.
Yes, .com. Yeah, so that's our website. So you can check it out. We're going to be adding more content onto the website, so definitely bookmark it. And we'll also be posting polls like this,
Hmm.
so you'll be able to participate in that as well. I just saw another vote came in. I'm getting little indications on my phone each time a vote comes in, so it's pretty cool. So you may run my battery down on my phone during the broadcast. That should be interesting. Speaking of shacks, we actually talked about this a little bit last week. Rich's Shack. So let's take a look at a close-up shot of Rich's
Hmm.
Shack.
Stack Shack.
Stack
Yeah.
Shack,
Yeah.
which has look at it. It's the powerhouse. It's got the SDS 100 and 200. It's got the
Yep.
BCD 325P2, the BCT 15, and the Stridesburg 4-port multicoupler. Or is it the 8-port?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually the 8-port. So the two 536s are in the middle and the BCT 15 on the bottom. And on the back, which you really can't see on this picture, I took a scanner bracket and mounted it to the back of the rack and then mounted the multi-coupler onto there. So I have actually five cables going to the five scanners and then two more going to the home patrols on the desk. Now, I have to admit, I did not originate this idea of mounting the multi-coupler on the back like that. There was a guy in Radio Reference. I don't know if it was Dave or somebody else posted it in the pictures forum at Radio Reference, and I love that idea. So that's how I did mine. And then the big question we always get is, how do I mount the SDS 100? So it's just a standard little mic clip on an L bracket, which I think if you advance to the next one, you'll probably see what that bracket looks like.
There it is. There's a close-up shot of that, and I'll bring it in a little bit closer so you guys can see it. Let me bring that up. Here we go. There it is, Rich. So basically, you connected that up by using the fastening knobs on the bracket mount there, right?
Yeah. So I just on the bracket that holds the SDS 200, or the screw that holds the SDS 200, I put that in there. Now, what I did do is I put a lock washer on there as well to keep that from loosening up, because that SDS 100 is kind of a heavy radio, and if I didn't put that lock washer, that would tend to loosen up. The other thing I did is on the single bolt, nut and bolt that holds the mic clip to the bracket, I put a lock washer on that thing, and I torqued that sucker, so that is not coming loose. And because there's only one bolt on it, and I had to do it that way because the bracket wasn't long enough to get the SDS far enough away from the rack to work. So this way I can actually get my finger in there and press the menu button.
Yeah, so you could find this, the mic clip. You can some people may have those kicking around. As for the bracket there, you probably pick it up at your local home improvement place. You may be able to find something you may be able to purpose for that.
Yeah, and I mean, you could always fashion some other way of doing it. What I did do at one point is I had a little bit longer bracket, and then I used a Dremel tool to cut like a kind of a U shape in there so that the knob on the back of the scanner kind of drops into it. If you have a scanner that doesn't have a knob on the back, like the SDS, so if you have something like a 325 that you want to use, all you need is that flat bar, because that has a clip on the back of the scanner.
Yeah, and that looks really awesome. I was looking at that. I'm actually going to back up the slides so we can see that up close again. And that looks pretty nifty with the with the SDS 100 there. It's just sitting right beside of the other radios in the stack.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it just looks really cool. And plus, you also have the what is that, a 45-degree angle connection on the top of the radio?
Yeah, 90-degree SMA adapter on the top of the SDS so that the cable doesn't stick straight out. Again, it's just an aesthetic thing. And then that goes to the multi-coupler. And I have a bunch of very short little 3 or 5 inch coax lengths to go from the multi-coupler to those radios, because I don't need a lot of length. And like Dale said in the comments, the Radio Reference Picture Forum is a wonderful place to see other people's scanner shacks and to get ideas. So none of the stuff that I've done on my shacks is unique. I just kind of take good ideas that I found and kind of take them to the extreme, I guess. But the one thing I did do that's unique is the cabinet itself behind me. That is, I don't think anybody else has done that. At least not to that extent. But this scanner, the Stack Shack here, it's extremely helpful. It works really well. It's right there on my desk where I can get at it real quickly. And those are the radios I use every day.
That's for sure. And what we'll do is we'll advance a couple more slides here. So let me show our audience. We do sell the stacks here. They're part of our Spectrum Force product line here. We carry it in a 2-base scanner mount, a 3-base, and a 4-base scanner mount. And it just looks just like this. This is the 4-base scanner mount. And as you can see, it'll fit SDS 200s, and it'll fit your standard Uniden or GRE or Whistler units, or even some of the Radio Shack units that are the standard size. So this is a way just to keep your scanners looking nice and organized, and it just looks great. I've seen a lot of shack photos that were sent in to us that actually have the Spectrum Force desk mount in the for some of the radios. Yeah,
and the neat thing about it is like this 4-port 4-radio shack stack, you can actually put a 5th radio on top of it, either by mounting a bracket or just put the little rubber feet on the bottom of the radio and just set it right on the top. I've done that in the past as well. I don't do it now, but I have done that in the past, and I've suggested that to a couple people who had like 3 radios. And should I get the 3 radio or the 2 radio? Sometimes the 2 radio would work better. You put the third radio on the top.
Yeah, it just looks really sharp. I love
Yeah.
I love the SDS 200's display. I mean, that just is phenomenal. You know, the large display on the radio, and it's just a sharp looking radio. So
Oh
if
yeah.
you've got more than one radio, let's say if you have two, you definitely look at the two base scanner mount, or 3 or 4, depending on how many radios you have. You may want to get one of the ones. Maybe you have 2 radios. Maybe you want to get the third base mount for expansion.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to worry about the scanners being so close together, especially nowadays with the metal cases. Older scanners with the plastic cases occasionally would interfere with each other. And especially if you're running antennas through a multi-coupler, because that, like a Stridsberg especially, they do provide a lot of not separation, but there's another term for to keep the radios from interfering with each other. And with metal cases, the chances of the radios interfering with each other are much reduced. And you can use them for ham radios as well, as one of the commenters asked, as long as it's not wider than a scanner, which is a DIN case. If it's narrower, you would have to fill it in with either a longer screw, machine bolt on the side, and maybe put some spacer in there if the radio is a little bit narrower. If the radio is wider, it won't fit in there, so that might be something to put on top of it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is certainly great for all the base radios. So
yeah, isolation was the word I was looking for. Thank you, Joe.
So we have options for the portable radios as well. So if you've got a whole bunch of portable radios, certainly take a look at the Spectrum Force desk mounts for handheld radios. They're available in 1, 2, or 3. And these mounts will slide into that. If it's got the nut in the back, it'll slide in there. If it's got the belt clip, it'll slide down through that. There's also cutouts on the left and to the right of the radio, so you'll be able to feed your wires out to the back of the mounting bracket. I mean, it's something super simple, but it keeps your shack looking super neat.
Yeah, and they do make them for multiple radios, and it's a great way to keep the radios sturdy on the desktop, because when you're mashing on the buttons, if you have the radio just sitting on your desk, you're going to knock the radio over. So this gives you a nice, stable holder for the radio, and it brings it at an angle where you can see it better.
Yeah, matter of fact, I have one right here. This is the mount. As you can see here, there's wire cutouts here and right over here. And right here is an opening, so you'll be able to slide the radio in if it's got that knob on the back. And also on the top, it's got a slit here. So if you've got the belt clip, that'll just slide in there. And then you can feed all the wires out through this larger hole, which is in the back. So it's a pretty simple concept. It is the flat black, as you can see here, so it looks really cool. Most people like their radios when they have black, and so we made the mounts also in that black color as well.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with black. You don't have a 2-monitor stand or 2-radio stand, do you?
I don't have one here. I may have one in storage. I do have the 2 base unit, which is right in front of me.
Yeah. So there was a question how wide the 2 portable stand is. So it's probably, well, how wide is that one? About 4 inches?
It's about it's probably closer to 6.
Okay.
Maybe 5 or 6 across. So
so it's not going to be quite twice as wide, but it's going to be close to it.
Yeah. I mean, these are really nice. I mean, they're durable, they're strong. I love it because, let me just see if I can find a radio.
You can see the relative size to the 396, which is a relatively small radio that you've got on there. If you got a little bit wider radio like a TRX, it'll still fit there really nice.
Yeah, see, this is my SDS 100, and I just was able to slide it in there with a little swivel nut in the back.
Oh, yeah.
So it just slides right into there, and there it is. Look, I'm holding this up.
Yep.
It's not going to fall off. You don't have to worry about that. I do have some talkabouts here, which have the little belt clip. It'll slide right into that, just like that. I mean, you would do that with your portable scanner, but this is one of these little talkabouts. I just slid it right into there. So you can drop it in there, and it just stays right up there. But yeah, I mean, it's a great thing. The other thing, too, is if you have a two-way radio, you can sit it on here. Use the shelf and the backing like this. So you can do a whole bunch of different things. It just kind of keeps your radios neat and organized.
Yeah. Yeah, and it gives you some wire management there, and it's just a neat little accessory for your shack.
That's for sure. So let's continue on with our slideshow. And we mentioned this, Rich, not too long ago, multi-couplers. And we mentioned Stridesburg. They're a phenomenal company. As you can see here, they have two different multi-couplers. They have the 4-port and the 8-port multi-coupler. So you'll be able to connect up either 4 radios or 8. We also have for the smaller shacks, the SP1300 combiner splitter. So that's a really cool thing. What you would do is you run your coax cable from the antenna into the input, and then you would run a jumper from output B to one of the radios, and then you would plug in output A to the back of one of your radios or the top of a portable radio. Let me show the slide a little bit larger so people can see those inputs there.
Right. So the SP1300 is a splitter. It's not a multi-coupler. A multi-coupler provides more isolation between the radios, and in the case of the Stridesburg, it has a built-in preamp on an active multi-coupler to overcome the connector loss. So on an SP1300 is great for local signals. If lost, you're gonna have a little bit of loss, but if you're listening to local stuff, that's probably not a big deal. But the Stridesburgs that we sell have the amplifier built into them, so they provide similar, if not actually a little better, signal levels than it would have if the antenna was connected directly to the individual radio. So those are a fantastic device. They're a little more expensive, obviously. They're $200 for the 4-port and $335 for the 8-port, but they are worth every penny. I've got 5 or 6 of those myself.
I've got a couple here, and I love them. I mean, they are great, and just being able to use those for for these radios, especially if you have a couple of different antennas, so you want to run one particular antenna into one coupler and run the other antenna into the other coupler. I mean, these certainly will do the trick, and that preamp does help a lot with reception as well.
Yeah, and the SP1300, you can actually use that to connect 2 antennas to your to one scanner. I've never tried that, but I've talked to some people who have, and it seems to work pretty well for that.
Yeah, and this is certainly a great thing to check out. If you're looking at doing multiple scanners, we've got the 2 multi-couplers, which are made by Stridesburg, and then you got the combiner splitter, which is the SP1300. So that'll certainly help you to share that great antenna with multiple scanners.
Yeah. And what I've done with mine is I found out which my antennas in my attic works the best on my scanners, and I use that to going into the multi-coupler and then going out to the radios. So if you have 2 or 3 antennas and a bunch of radios, find the antenna that works the best, run that into your multi-coupler, run that into your radios, and you can use just the one antenna for up to 8 different radios.
That's for sure. And we want to remind you, we're looking for your stupid scanner tricks. Certainly email those over to us, and also your shack photos as well. We would love to see those too. You can email those at thescannerguys@gmail.com. That's thescannerguys@gmail.com. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you mentioned. Radio Reference is certainly a huge spot to be able to get some good tips and suggestions for what to do with a shack. I mean, people can have a shack as small as the stack that you have there, and that's sufficient enough. And some people can have the extreme Rich's cabinet of scanners, which is behind them.
Yeah. Obviously, I think that's overkill for a lot of people, but there's a few people who have humongous shacks like that. There was a guy down in Florida, I think there's a real big Mill Air guy down there who had, I don't know, 15 or 20 780s. And those are great radios for military air. And I wish I still had mine. But, and, when you get a lot of radios, you're going to have wire management issues. And even with the 4 or 5 radios on the stack, wire management can be an issue. You can see kind of a bunch of wires coming out the back. There's not much I can do about that. But, when you got a whole bunch of radios like I've got in the cabinet, all the wires are hidden by the cabinet. So the wire management pretty much takes care of itself. So it can be really messy in the cabinet, and for a while it was. But I've actually gone in and I've cleaned up the wiring, and maybe on another video we'll do some interior shots of the cabinet. But even on the inside, the wiring on the inside is much neater now than it used to be.
Yeah, I'm sure. With all the with moving things around, sometimes that gets to be a bit of an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing about the Spectrum Force rack that we have on there is that you can take each radio out individually without having to take out the whole batch. So if you want to take a radio out to swap it out or to get repaired or put it in a car or something like that, you can unscrew it with the 2 screws and pull it right out.
Yeah, it's so easy. I love those mounts. We started carrying those several years back at Scanner Master, and they were a pretty good, a pretty huge hit. I mean, it's just a simple concept, but it keeps all your radios nice and neat.
Yeah.
And the wire management, I don't have one right close. No, I actually do. These Velcro things are awesome.
Oh.
You can get them at Lowe's or Home Depot. And let me just see here.
These little, yeah. I think you and I are like minds on that.
Yeah,
I buy
this
these by the dozens.
This works great. I mean, I use that all the time for wire management. I've used those in the vehicle if I've had a couple of scanners set up there. I have some wire management behind my desk, to kind of keep everything nice and neat. I mean, it does get occasionally messy, if I'm end up dropping wires and not tucking them. But yeah, every so often I'll pull my desk forward because this is right up against the wall here, and I'll straighten out the wires. And those Velcro things are a lifesaver. You can coil up, the wire, and then have it so it's not hanging and kind of keep it somewhat organized. So those are huge essential for keeping your shack nice and neat.
Well, the other thing that I've been using a lot lately is these very simple Velcro straps. They don't have the loop on them, but again, it's got the fuzzy side on one side and the hook on the other side, and it just kind of wraps onto itself, and it's a great way to wrap a bunch of wires. So if you got a couple wires you want to put together, keep together, you just kind of do something like that. And they come in a roll, and it's like 40 feet of these things, and you just cut it with a pair of scissors to the length that you want. So I've got a whole boatload of this on my desk to tie up my wires so the wires aren't hanging down. Fantastic little thing. If you find them at Home Depot or Lowe's, they have them there. You can find them elsewhere, but they are awesome for tying up wires.
So we are talking about a little bit about shacks, and if you want to share your shack photos, right over there you can see on the slide the information regarding how to send your shack photos to us, thescannerguys@gmail.com. Send us your shack photos. We would love to see those. We would love to eventually do a shack contest, which would be something that we would have to run through the boss of Scanner Master. But that would be a lot of fun to be able to do something like that. Of course, our shacks would be excluded because more than likely we would be the judges, and then we may bring in a guest judge to be able to help us in case it gets a little crazy with shack photos. But yeah, this is a lot of fun, talking about shacks, and then I'm sure, you guys have some questions for us. We want to
Mm-hmm.
open the Scanner Guys mailbag right now. As you can see, we got the mailbox out, so we're gonna look at one of the questions that we received via email. Rich, do you want to read Bruce's question?
Sure. He asks, are digital scanners not as sensitive receiving VHF high band analog signals? None of his 3 digital scanners can pick up the distant weather or railroad defect detectors that his 4 analog scanners can get. Granted, those are first generation digitals, so I'm wondering if maybe the current models are better or still behind a new analog scanner when it comes to analog. So we get this question quite a bit, and a lot of it has to do with the design of the radio, of course. I've heard of various varying responses to this. In my particular thing, my SDS 100 is awesome on VHF railroad channels. It doesn't work particularly well on UHF, and on 800, it's smoking hot. I've noticed that there's also a wide variety or variation on radios of the same model. I've got a half a dozen BCT 15s. A couple of them work much better on VHF than they do on UHF, and vice versa. So what I'll do is I'll assign the radios that work best on one band to that particular band. And same thing with the 996s and the other scanners. I've got 2 536s on my shack here, or my stack, that were the serial numbers are like 30 or 40 numbers apart. So they're built probably the same day. And one of them the top one works so much better on VHF, and the bottom one works much better on 800. So there's variations between individual radios. The way to test them is to make sure you're using exactly the same antenna, feed line, and everything else, and the same frequency. I like to, every once in a while, I will go through my rack of radios and I'll find a bunch of always-on signals, like the weather channel, a ATIS channel from the Air Force Base, a control channel from a trunking system, and compare not only the indicated signal strength, which is only one part of it, but the way the quality of the audio that's received, and figure out which radio is working the best. And I even found one of my radios wasn't working at all, and it just died. And so I had to take that one out and I sent it in to get repaired. Sometimes they do have issues, and so you can get an idea of which radio works best on what frequency ranges. And if you've got multiple radios, then you can use that information to decide what you're going to assign that particular radio to. If you've only got one radio and it works really poorly on one band or another, then you might have an issue. You might need a different radio or send your radio in for repair.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, these radios, I've noticed that as well. For me, I've noticed that certain radios work really well on particular bands, and they're the same exact model. So that's something that you have to try out. As for current new digital radios for the railroads, I'm just completely blown away by the SDS 200. I've had some really good luck with that, with getting some really distant signals, and also getting defect detectors that I don't typically hear on my portable radio. I'm able to get it with the mobile radio in the truck. I've had some pretty good luck with some of the newer radios. But yeah, I mean, I've noticed there's digital radios entirely have came a long way, even with the decoding and the quality of the sound. I mean, if we took the first digital scanner and compared it to the SDS 200, hands down, it would be a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, a lot of it has to do with the individual radio and your antenna and everything else. But the best way to figure it out is, again, try it. See if you can find some always-on signals near the frequency that you're interested in. If you're trying to find the best radio in your collection for railroads, use the weather channel, because the weather channels transmit all the time. The frequencies are really close, and it's a great way to test your radio.
Well, I just want to thank Bruce for his question. You know, he emailed that out into us, so we shared that with the tonight's presentation. Hopefully, Bruce is watching. He got a live answer to his question, so you know that's really cool that we were able to answer that for you. We're going to be also answering your questions live here tonight, and we'll also be diving into the mailbag as well throughout the night. So. We've got a great show planned for you. If you're just joining us, it's about 34 minutes into the first hour of the Scanner Guys. And we have a lot of people watching tonight, it seems like. Right, Rich?
Oh, yeah. Numbers are quite a bit higher than they were last few weeks. So welcome, everybody. And if this is your first time here, thank you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like button. We'd like to see that, and it helps us.
Yeah, and especially you can get some notifications when a new video comes up, and it keeps us in your feed. If you do have a YouTube account, you'll be able to see that as well. Yeah, we switched over to YouTube not too long ago, just because we like the platform, and it's easier to watch the shows and find them. Kind of gets buried on Facebook, but here on YouTube, you know, you're able to find them, and plus, if you do a Google search for any of the topics that we cover, our videos will come up in the searches as well. So we're excited to be here on YouTube. Is our new home. So make sure you tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody. You know, that
and it's a much more reliable platform that we found than it was on Facebook. Plus, you don't need to have an account. You don't need to have a YouTube or a Google account. You don't need a Facebook account in order to view this. So I think a lot more people will find us eventually as well. So
yeah, and you know the other thing, if you have Roku, download the YouTube app. You can watch us on your TV.
Yep. Same thing if an Apple TV.
Yep. So you can watch us on your
There's a YouTube
TV.
app. Yep. In fact, I've got us on my big screen out here. So.
Do you really?
Yeah, I'm a geek. What can I say?
So
I just had to make sure I turned the volume down. So because there's a lot less latency on the YouTube channel than there was on Facebook. On Facebook, there was 35, 40, 50 seconds sometimes of latency. Here, latency is about 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. You know, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If you missed any of the shows, you can look through our YouTube account. You can also visit the Scanner Guys website, the Scanner Guys at scannerguys.weebly.com. That's thescannerguys.weebly.com. And you can check out past shows on there and watch them right on there as well. We also have a poll going on our website right now, thescannerguys.weebly.com. You're going to vote for what our next show topic will be. And what are those 3 options again, Rich?
Well, let's see. Classic scanners, oddball accessories, or the Home Patrol 2. Why?
Yeah, why should you consider the Home Patrol 2? So those are our 3 topics that you can pick for next week's show, which will be July the 1st. Crazy how the time goes by.
Yeah. Did we have a spring this year?
Somewhat.
Of course, living in Arizona, we really don't have spring. We have 8 months of beautiful, gorgeous weather and 4 months of hot like an oven.
Yeah. You're in the easy bake oven for 4 months. Yeah, so your spring is kind of like the 8 months.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anything going on in the cameras tonight? Are you watching any of the Railstream cameras?
Yeah, I've got Flagstaff on the one and us on the other. So there was a train just came through Flagstaff on the BNSF with 2 Norfolk Southern engines. So it's the first time I've seen a non-BNSF engine leading a train through Flagstaff in months. So it was unusual to see only Norfolk Southern engines on that train.
So we want to remind you, let me just put up the slide where you can actually vote for the show. So next week's show, right over there, you can see pick your topic. Vote at the Scanner Guys at scannerguys.weebly.com. So next week's show is July the 1st, and it's 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, and there's the URL right there, thescannerguys.weebly.com. So you can vote for next week's show. And we'll just throw these up here too. Quick reminder about showing off your shack and your stupid scanner tricks. You can email thescannerguys@gmail.com. And don't forget, my social media as well. Train Aficionado is the blog that I do all about rail fanning. And then you can like and subscribe to my social media that goes around rail fanning and trains there. And don't forget about the Scanner Master social media as well. They're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And the Scanner Guys, which is us, we're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So people are finding us each and every week on Instagram. So definitely check out our social media there. We would love to have you join our family on there as well. And we'll keep you up to date with any news or new products, or we may even pop on one of those social media platforms live. Periodically, we do that. So, Rich, I think we should probably dive into some of those questions this evening.
All right, let's go right into Romper Room. And let's see, I see Chris, and I see Glenn, and I see Ray. So if anybody is old enough to remember this, make sure you put a comment in there. I see Jonathan. My wife's going to kill me because I stole her screener thingamajigger. But if anybody's old enough to remember that, make sure you let us know.
Oh, man.
All right. So, hello, Chris. Hello, Glenn. Hey, Ray. Ray's from my old, where I used to live, not far from him. Don't forget to do your homework, Ray. We're watching you. Railfan51. I'm not sure where he's from, but howdy. Oh, Chris has got a great question. And I was looking at this question earlier. It's like, wow, that is a fantastic question. And he asked if we could talk about maritime radios, boats radios, if they use PL tones on their radios. That's a great question. And actually, I have never seen a PL tone coming from a true marine radio. I've never seen that on there. None of the marine radios I've ever used. I used to have a boat years ago. They didn't have the capability of doing marine channels or doing PL tones on them. The only time I've ever seen PL tones on a marine channel is when somebody had a modified ham radio or land mobile radio on a marine channel with a PL tone. We had marine channels in the radios when I was on the police department because we were right on the lake, and we used them to talk to the Coast Guard. And when I programmed the radios, I accidentally put a PL tone on them, and I noticed that one day, listening to it on a scanner when the guys contacted the Coast Guard. It's like, why is it coming up with a PL tone of 127.3 on that? And I went in and looked, sure enough, it was programmed that way. So, not intentionally, Chris. If their PL is on there, chances are it's because of somebody either hijacking the channels or an idiot like me and programming it incorrectly. Let's see here. K-Love 49 sounds like a radio station. K-Love AM Radio 49. Kevin checking in for Georgia. Jerry's checking in from Cincinnati. Dave, our buddy from Buffalo, and Steve from Missouri. I talked to him last week. Joe, we got a week left of June. Let's not push it, guys. Yeah. So, I guess, officially it's summer, as of like Monday, Sunday or Monday?
Yeah, usually the unofficial is Memorial Day weekend, isn't it? The unofficial.
Yeah, the unofficial, but the official summer solstice is June 20th or 21st. So just think of it this way. As of now, the days are getting shorter every day until the week before Christmas. So it's something to look forward to.
Yes. So, the days will get shorter and it'll get darker earlier.
Yeah. So the one nice thing about living in Arizona is we don't have daylight savings time, so it gets darker here like around 8:30 instead of 9:30 like it does in most of the rest of the country this time of year. And we need that extra hour of cooling so that we can go out at night and not boil. Let's see here. Jerry, my buddy Jerry from Chicago. Hello there. Bob asks if we're going to be treated to another cross-country scanner adventure with us. Well, I hope so.
I hope so. I mean, the first one that we did was funded by Scanner Master, so I don't know if we can get the funding to do that again, but we would love to be able to do another Scanner Guys road trip. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we do another Dayton trip. That would be cool. You haven't said anything to Rich Barnett about it as of yet, right?
Well, we're just waiting to see if there's going to be a Dayton next year. Right, yeah, obviously, Dayton was canceled this year because of the COVID-19, and so far it doesn't look like it's letting up anytime soon. So, if there is a Dayton next year, hopefully they'll be allow both of us to go. But at this point, everything is just in the air.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm hoping that things set to clear up. But yeah, it would be awesome to be able to do another, even just another road trip would be cool. Something with rail fanning, with some aviation, and of course, listening to some local departments. I mean, we had during that Dayton Ham Fest, we had the STS 100, and we had the only two that were on public display, and it was really awesome to be able to show some video of the unit picking up a digital signal from our hotel room. I mean, it worked great.
Yeah, it was. We had a blast on that one. I mean, I don't think I had that much fun on a 5-day weekend. Without my wife, but that was an absolute blast. Between talking to everybody at the booth, doing all the live shots on Facebook, and walking around Dayton. I mean, what more could a radio guy want?
I mean, I had a lot of fun. That was the first Hamvention that I've ever attended. Usually, I was back at the office, working the phones while Rich Barnett was out at Dayton. But Rich said, why don't we send the whole crew? So Rich and I were at the booth, and then the other Rich popped in periodically. And of course, Gomert from Butel Software was there. Which he's an awesome guy, and his software is well known and one of the best out there. That's what we carry right here at Scanner Master.
Oh, absolutely, and we did have a blast, and we got to meet a lot of the people that we are talking to tonight, and some of them we knew, some of them we didn't, and it was a blast. I'm looking forward to it again.
Me too.
All right, Andy is in Indy. Andy from Indy. Okay. Dave asked a question: have you ever tried to put RG8 or LMR 400 on a mag mount?
Wow, that would be some heavy duty stuff.
Yeah. Boy, that would be a challenge. Depending on the mag mount that you get, I mean, all the mag mounts I've ever seen have always had the cable soldered right to the mount, but on some of them they're just a standard NMO mount mounted on a platform for the magnet. So I suppose you could do it, but the problem you're going to have is routing the cable to the mount itself, because they usually drill a hole on the side of the magnet or above the magnet. So I suppose it could be done, but it can't be done pretty.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be a heavier gauge of cable rubbing up on the top of your car too. It's not as flexible.
Yeah, and there's no way you're going to be able to run that into the door like you can with RG58 or the really small thing on our Spectrum Force antennas. I mean, I suppose if you're using a mag mount in the house on a on a cake tray or something like that, that might work. But yeah, it's not going to be pretty, that's for sure.
And usually you're going a fairly short distance, so you really don't need the LMR 400, right?
Yeah, the loss difference between 15 feet of LMR 400 and 15 feet of RG58 is not going to be noticeable. It's going to be very negligible. I don't think you're going to notice it, and I wouldn't bother with trying it. Steve asks, what kind of indoor antennas should he get? So we get this question a lot, and oftentimes it's one of a couple answers. First off is if you have the room, like in your attic or in in the corner of the room, to put a disc cone or other base station type antenna there, and then run the coax to it. Sometimes you can put it on a balcony. One of the most common things that I've done, and I've suggested to people, and it's really worked out well, is to use a magnet mount antenna on top of a file cabinet, on the refrigerator, on top of a big shelf, something like that. Or even if you've got a window mount air conditioning, this has worked great for me. When I had my old apartment, had a window mount air conditioning, and I put the antenna on the outside of that air conditioning unit, snake the cable into the baffle and then to the scanner. It worked great from a fourth floor apartment.
Yeah, and one of the antennas that we recommend all the time to customers for those people that are living in an apartment is the Spectrum Force wideband mobile antenna with mag mount and BNC or the SMA connection if you have a scanner
Yeah.
with the SMA connection. It's right on your screen right now. It goes for $19.95. We have them in stock, and it's a 17-inch tall antenna with 12 feet of coax cable. So you should be able to place that antenna by a window, or like Rich said, if you got an air conditioner unit right outside of the window, that coax cable is super thin, so it's easy to snake it out. It gets that antenna on the outside of your home. That's what I'm currently doing right now here at my new house in the Carolinas. Is I have an antenna that's sitting on the outside of my windowsill until I get an antenna for the outside of my home. But yeah, I mean, it's a great antenna.
Yeah, I had, when I moved into my new house here in Arizona, it was too hot to go up in the attic. So I put 3 of these on a couple cake pans, put them on the top of the bookshelf. We had a 7-foot tall bookshelf in my office here, and ran the cables down to the antenna, to the radios. They work great, and the whole system worked great for about 2 months until one day my wife came looking for my cake pans, for her cake pans.
Oh,
she was not happy.
I'm sure she wasn't.
So, so it's basically you got to be kind of creative when you're stuck inside, with an inside antenna. If you can get a base station antenna, put it up in your attic. Where I live in an HOA, so all my antennas are up in the attic, and I got full-size base station antennas up there, but I've got a big attic, so if, you can put 1 or 2 antennas up there. That's great. Otherwise, stick them in a corner, hide them behind a plant. I did that in my old apartment when I took a disc cone antenna and just hung it on a flower hook in the corner of the apartment, and I put a big old ficus in front of it.
Yeah, and just trying to hide it away. Sometimes if you have big drapes by your windows, you may be able to stick a mobile antenna behind that. Nobody will see it. Nobody will know it's there because, if you have your drapes open enough, it'll hang there. Put the antenna right behind where they would typically hang. Just figure out a way to be able to mount it so it doesn't move. And then nobody will see it. Open the drapes, close the drapes. Nobody inside the apartment or your home will be able to see it. They may be able to see it outside the window, but, nobody's going to be able to see it from the inside.
Yeah. So, like I say, you just got to kind of look at what you got, where you can put it, and how big of a thing you can get away with. And with antennas, remember the golden rule on antennas is the higher the better. And oftentimes the bigger the better will help as well. But more importantly, the higher the better. A small antenna 50 feet in the air will work much better than a big antenna at ground level.
That's for sure.
Alrighty, moving on. Ira is in Detroit. He wants us to do a show on entering information on the Wiki. So I'm assuming he means the Radio Reference Wiki, of course. Yeah, that would be a good. We'll have to add that to our topic list. If you're not aware, and unfortunately so many people aren't, if you go to radioreference.com, not only do they have the database and the forums, but they also have a wiki, a scanner wiki, and it is actually extremely good and very comprehensive. And you can obviously edit and contribute to it just like you can at Wikipedia or any of these other wikis out there. So if you go to radioreference.com, there's a tab in the blue bar that says Wiki. You can go there. You can do a search on your particular scanner model. It's a great repository for information that doesn't fit in the database. So things like 10 code lists for your favorite system, radio IDs, all kinds of information that is good to know but doesn't fit in the database can go in there. My favorite page is the one that I pretty much wrote all of it, is a detailed description of how the unit and serial numbers and model numbers work. So that's in there. If you do a search for unit and serial numbers, you'll see that in there. And it's a list of how you can break out the unit and serial numbers. And I don't know why that was really interesting to me, but I thought it was, so I wrote a wiki page on it. Alrighty, so Joe writes a pretty long post, but I'll kind of summarize it. He read on the news that the city of Pittsburgh has changed their dispatching system that gets away from the unified dispatching that we're very familiar with. And the reason they did it was interesting. He said that while you hear dispatches, it gets your heart racing. Even the dispatch call is not for you. And it supposedly takes a toll on the body after years. And he doesn't like that because it removes the ability for the public safety personnel to monitor all dispatch calls that would improve their health. So he asks if governments are going to use this as a reason to make all dispatching inaccessible to the public in the name of public health. I don't know if it would do that. I know that with all the current things going on, it's affecting how much stuff is encrypted. And most of the time it's agencies going to encryption because the protesters and rioters have been using the police communications as a tool to further their cause, as it were. So some agencies that weren't encrypted before are going encrypted because it's actually affecting what's going on. There are a couple agencies that I know of that are going the other way around, that they've been encrypted and they're looking for ways to allow the public to listen but still maintain the tactical advantage. So you may see more agencies providing feeds of their communications that has built-in delays of 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. I think that's a better way of doing it because it allows the public to still listen to the communications, but at least it puts in a delay so that it reduces the ability of the ne'er-do-wells to use that communication to mess with the police and such, which is obviously there's a lot of problems, but that's not helping it. So it's a kind of a two-edged sword, an open society, but hopefully this stuff will start to calm down, and hopefully there'll be ways to not have to have things encrypted anymore. Let's see here. Dave is out there. Says hello to Steven. I guess there must be a friend of his. And okay, so Ray asks if he submitted a change and it was worked on. So he's making submissions to the radio reference database. And he asks, if the person who worked it, the database administrator who worked it, and if he sent him a private message and he never got a reply, what to do now. So the way submissions work, and we talked about this before, and we'll talk about it again on another show, is a member of Radio Reference, any member of Radio Reference, paid or free members, can make a submission to the database. And then one of many database administrators will then take that submission and work it and make the changes or reject the submission if it's incorrect, whatever. And and make the changes to the database. Um, and you will be able to see who the database administrator was that made that worked your submission. So you can send them a private message, but if they don't reply to you, that's probably because they get hundreds of submissions, and they may not be able to reply to every one of them. If you make a submission and you get a message from the administrator to clarify it, please make sure you reply to that quickly. Otherwise, your submission could be rejected if there wasn't enough information. So I'm a database administrator, and I work a couple specific areas. I try to work them as quickly as I can, but if there's a question about something, obviously, we need to clarify that with you. If you reply back to them about a submission that you made and they don't reply right away, please be patient. And sometimes they're just too darn busy. Let's see here. John loves our videos. So he asks a question about, on a 996P2 or 325P2, can you use two different P25 thresholds on two different systems? That's a great question. Jonathan, do you use P25 settings on your system down there?
I don't really. I found that the way it's set up, factory settings, seems to be working pretty well. I haven't really messed with it. What I recommend to anybody that's going to go in there, make sure you remember the settings that you started off with, because if you end up making it worse, just roll it back to default.
Yeah. Now I'm in the same position where I live. The P25 threshold settings haven't been an issue. I think that the threshold settings are universal to the radio. So the problem is that when you make those changes, they might help one system but not help another. So as far as I know, and I'm not 100% positive on this, I think they are universal and not geared to a specific system. So if somebody knows differently, please let us know in the responses and in the chat, and we'll make sure we get that out to you.
I think you are right. I think it's globally. It would be like a global setting versus a local setting for one particular system.
Yeah. Joe, there is a 200 character limit for chat posts, so no worries about the 4 posts there. So we got your message, and we understand it. So don't worry about it. Our buddy Quincy from the Bay Area says hello.
Hey, Quincy.
It's field day. Field day is this weekend. Oh, I didn't even know that. So for those of you who are not hams, field day is. Oh, by the way, the threshold settings are global. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, so we were right.
Yep. Oh, darn, we're good. That's why we're the scanner guys.
That's for sure.
If we don't know, we'll be glad to make it up as we go along, and sometimes we're right too.
Yeah.
So
I was pretty certain it was global. I don't remember it having individual settings for each system. And like you said, Rich, with it being global, you could take those settings and make it extremely bad for one system in your radio. Yeah. And then extremely good for another one.
Yeah, the last time I tried playing with that was back in Chicago on one of the on the statewide system there called Starcom, and every time I changed it, it just made it worse and worse. And then and then eventually I put up a directional antenna, and that took care of my issues with Starcom. Okay, so it's field day this weekend, and he's going to be working QRP, which is low power. So if you're not a ham, field day is that weekend every year they set aside a weekend, and the idea is that you don't work from your home shack with your radios here on AC power and your big base station antennas. Is you go out into the field and set up someplace outside, away from home, preferably using battery power, solar power, a generator, or something. to further the ability to do emergency communications. If you don't have your big base station antenna, you don't have commercial power and such. So I've worked a few field days in the past. I used to have an old ICOM 735 and a deep cycle marine battery and this big, huge wire antenna. And we go to the forest preserves, and which is a kind of a regional park thing in the Chicago area. And we'd set up on a picnic table with the battery, and we'd set up this wire antenna. Oh, we got a great story on this. Normally, we get there before the sun came up, so it was dark when we were setting this antenna up. Well, we didn't know there was a bridle path out there. So we set this antenna up, and we set it up to about 12 feet. We tied it off on trees. Well, apparently that is just the same height where a horseback rider ends up being. And we heard this, what the? And some guy pretty much clotheslined himself on our antenna. And we had no idea there was a bridle path there when we set up the antenna. So obviously we moved it really quick.
I can imagine, you have somebody riding there all the time, and not seeing that, coming across that's got to be crazy.
Oh, he was not a happy guy, So, but he wasn't hurt. It was just scared him, and everybody had a good laugh after that. But eventually, he started laughing at it. But oh yeah, it was crazy. So let's see. Dave says it's a really busy shack. Yeah, lots of radios there. Kevin's checking in. We already gave the website for voting, Glenn. Again, that was the scannerguys.weebly.com.
I'll put that back up on the screen. Just give me a moment.
Sure. And Dave says that my mini base, my Stack Shack, is just like his. Dave, you might have been my inspiration on that. Maybe it might have been your pictures at Radio Reference that they used to do that. Joe says he made a similar shack as well, but he used vinyl boards for the sides instead of buying the rack from us. So, Joe, why didn't you buy the rack from us? You made it yourself? So that's all right. We'll let it slide this time, Joe, but make sure you buy one from us, too. Okay. And then Dale mentions that the Radio Reference Picture Forum is a great place to set up to get ideas. So I'm sure a lot of you guys know that I'm probably the most prolific, if not one of the most prolific, if not the most prolific poster on the Radio Reference Picture Forums. I redo my shack every few months, and I usually post pictures of it. I've actually had my car and the way the radio's been set up in my car for a year and a half, and I haven't changed a thing, which is a record for me. I don't think I've gone 6 months without changing stuff before, but my car has not changed for a year and a half that I've had it. So that means I'm really happy with that particular setup. You can find pictures of that at the forums. And I've got shacks dating back 15 years at that forum. And so I've got several dozen different iterations of my shack. So
for voting, I have that up on our screen right now. Next week's broadcast is Wednesday, July the 1st, and you pick the topic. Vote at thescannerguys.weebly.com. That URL is right over there, and you can vote. I did that the first time when pointing. I pointed in the opposite direction. But yeah, it's right over there, so you can vote for your favorite topic that you want us to cover. The 3 topics is the Home Patrol 2, why should you consider that? The oddball scanner accessories, and classic scanners. So what we'll do is we'll talk about classic scanners, or we'll talk about the Home Patrol 2, or some of those odd accessories. that we have on, of course, the Scanner Master website. The things that you don't usually think of when you're looking to look for various things. We're going to bring those out into a discussion. So vote for your favorite for next week.
Yep. All right. And like I say, make sure you do that. And also make sure you like and subscribe to us here at YouTube.
Yes.
All righty. Joe is from Harrison, New York. Howdy, Joe. He's one of our regulars. We've already talked about this. Putting the scanners together so close together really don't cause issue with the newer scanners. The older ones did. I remember I had several Pro 2006s and 2005s back in the day. And with those plastic cases, those were extremely RF noisy. And they would lock each other up on frequencies because of the spurious emissions generated by those radios. And while they were great scanners, they were RF noisy. And the newer scanners with the metal cases are much, much, much better.
Yeah, nothing like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too is the FCC has tightened up a lot of the specs, so they do not interfere with other equipment anywhere near as bad as they used to. Charlie is from North Carolina. He's in your backyard. And we were talking about this earlier too, about how about mounting a ham radio or two in that rack. Yeah, absolutely. Just measure it. Make sure the radio is not wider than a 996 or a SDS 200 scanner is. What is that? 7 inches?
Yeah, about 7 inches. Yeah.
Yeah. If it is wider than that, if you have one radio that's wider than that, you can mount it on the top of the rack. But if it's, you're not going to be able to put it in the rack if it's wider. If it's narrower, you can put a couple spacers in there. Just use a longer screw. And let's see here. Thanks for helping me with that, Joe. Isolation was the term I was looking for. And that's why you want to use a multi-coupler versus a splitter or jumpers, because the multi-coupler will isolate the radios from each other so they don't interfere with each other. And that's very important. Dale mentions a little Velcro on the top, and the rubber feet will allow you to put your fifth radio in place and keep it from bouncing off. If you take the radio in and out of your shack often, then pop it on the top. You can put some Velcro on there or the little rubber feet. That works very well. I've done that in the past.
Me too.
In fact, I still got the Velcro on the top of mine from something I had in there. I don't remember what I had on there at one point. So I go through a lot of Velcro here.
Me too. Me too.
So, in fact, I used to have my home patrols mounted on a panel on my cabinet and put it on there. But now I use those on my desk, so they're sitting on their stands. But the problem I have is buy that sticky Velcro from Home Depot. It's very hard to get off because that adhesive on it's very strong.
You ever use that Goop Be Gone? I think that's what it's called. And that usually pulls it off.
Yeah, what I do is I put a little of that Goo Gone on a plastic wedge and kind of put it in there. It makes it a lot easier. But the stuff can be very hard to take off. So Joe likes the cases. So yep, absolutely. Wally likes our desk mounts. How wide is the two portable scanner stand? Oh, we talked about this earlier. It's not quite twice as wide physically as the one scanner stand, so I figure the two scanner stands probably what?
Yeah.
9, 10, 11 inches, something like that.
I just want to see if I'm going to take a look on our website just to see if it's on there.
Yeah. All right, we'll get back to you on that, Dave, as soon as if we can find it here. Tony is checking in from Prince George's County, Maryland, and Joe asked if he can use that for his walkie-talkie for the desk stand. Yeah, absolutely. You can put a walkie-talkie in there as long as it either has a stud or a clip. Otherwise, it can set on there. And the nice thing about those desk stands for the portables is it keeps the radio from falling over.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have Dave when he's back from inventory. Measure those.
Yeah, absolutely. So They are big enough where you can put two 436s next to each other, which are kind of wide radios. I have done that in the past. So, yeah, let's see here. Yeah, there's no thumbs up for YouTube on the comments. So yeah, that was a nice thing about Facebook is on the comments you could like somebody's comment, but you can't like individual comments on YouTube. So you can like the video.
Yeah,
So click
definitely,
that thumbs up
definitely give
icon
us
on
the
the
thumbs
video.
up on the video.
Yeah, but you just can't like individual comments.
Yeah, well, the other thing they were mentioning is the reactions. When we used to get the
Yeah.
thumbs up or the smiley faces, would appear on the screen. Yeah, that's something that's not on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. Wally just ordered a four-port multi-coupler from us, so it's on the way. So you'll get that in a couple of days, Wally, and yeah, it will work out great. Just make sure you have enough jumpers to go from the multi-coupler to the other radios. You'll need 4 of those if you're connecting it to 4 radios. Another question we get on these multi-couplers is whether or not you need to terminate any ports that aren't being used. And on these particular multi-couplers, I've tried it both ways. I've never been able to detect any difference whatsoever. I've talked to Mr. Sidsberg himself and asked him that very question, and he said it doesn't matter. So, I've got terminators. I've tried it. Like I said, I've tried it both ways. I've never noticed any difference. So, if you've got terminators, use them. If you don't sweat it.
The Terminators.
Terminator, yes. Charlie asked what's the best antenna for his Whistler WS1040. The antenna that comes with it is actually pretty good for multiple bands. If you're listening to one specific band, then a antenna cut for that specific band is probably going to be your best bet. If you're listening to multiple bands, then the the Condor is good. Hang on one second.
Sure. So on our website, we actually have, I have it over here on the screen right now, is we have these categories broken out into under portable antennas. If you hover your mouse on our website under portable antennas, we broke out into 2 different categories for portable wideband favorites and portable single band favorites as well. So Rich and I basically went through all of the antennas that we had on our website and kind of broke them out into categories, so you can kind of have our top picks for wideband and single band. Single band antennas, we can take a quick peek at that on our website right now. So the most popular frequency bands there are, of course, the 700 and 800 megahertz, the UHF, which is your 400 megahertz, and then your VHF, which is your 150 to 160 megahertz. And we have a wide variety of antennas for all those bands. And lucky enough, we actually have antennas in this category that fit both in the SMA and BNC category there as well.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
which is
if you
awesome.
got a WS1040, make sure you get a BNC.
Yep. So these antennas you can see here. So most of any of the antenna categories you'll have under mobile antennas. You'll have the mobile favorites category. Under portable antennas, you'll have wideband and single band, and then
are you gonna put that up on the screen?
Yeah. Oh shoot! I'm showing it and I didn't realize it. Let me put that up on the screen for you right here, so you can see under antennas. You can see under mobile antennas we have mobile favorites. Under portable we have portable wideband antennas and single band antennas. I'll show you the single band page. So we have a little brief description right here on the top, and then all the antennas that are down below. As you can see, we do have one for each band. We actually have an extra antenna in this category because Rimtronics actually made an antenna that's particular for the SDS100 in the 800 megahertz category. So we actually have 3 different Rimtronics antennas that are all 800 megahertz on this page. We have one extra one which works particularly well for the SDS100. But this is something that Rich and I worked on a couple years ago, and we've also done it for the base antennas as well. Let me just show you this. And we basically did for our base antennas basic, better, and best. So you'll get our top picks, for basic directional, basic omnidirectional, and then a better antenna, and then our best antenna, and then our better plus antenna in this category. So you can see here all the antennas that we have in this category. But yeah, we totally loved putting this together because this is a question that we get all the time from our callers. They're saying, what is the best antenna for this? What's the best antenna for that? So we tried to break it out into categories so people could see, okay, so this is the basic, this is the better, and this is the best. So you see what Rich and I have designated in those categories. Typically, they are, you're getting what you pay for as well. So a lot of times the basic will be typically the cheaper price-wise, not meaning quality, but cheaper price-wise, and then it'll graduate up to the best.
Absolutely. All right. Mike's checking in from Mississauga, Ontario. And welcome, Mike. Joe's going to be buying the multi-couplers as next thing. Hey, Wilbur. He finally made it. He's been absent a couple of weeks. I hate it when life gets in the way of hobbies.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So Joe says when he's not using his radio, he puts a dust cover on him. And yeah, you know what? I should probably do that here, except that I'm using my radios all the time. My wife makes dust covers. She's really into sewing, so she makes dust covers for everything here. But then, Arizona is famous for our dust, so we have a lot of that. So my wife also made all the stuff that's hanging on my walls. So she's very good at that stuff. Jay's checking in. Dale, good point here, Dale. If you're going to get a multi-coupler and you're not sure if you want the 4-port or the 8-port, spend the extra money, get the 8-port, because if you're going to get more scanners down the road, you won't have to go and buy another multi-coupler down the road. So if you start big now, you won't have to buy a second one down the road. Joe builds his own shelves for his radios, and sometimes he bolts them onto the shelves with the brackets. That's a great way of doing it. I wish that I was a wood crafter, because I would make my own cabinet, I would make my own desk and everything like that. We have a great woodworking shop here where I live, but unfortunately I'm all thumbs when it comes to that kind of stuff. But boy, I would give my left big toe to be able to do that. Joe says he likes the Stridsbergs, but he's been building his own because there's not enough ports on the Stridsberg. So, yeah, Joe, I feel your pain. Look behind me. The biggest multi-coupler Stridsberg has right now is 8. I've heard a little birdie saying that he is considering making a 16 or a 24 port. Nothing etched in stone. I did ask him about that, and he is under consideration of doing that. And if he does, I will be the first one to buy one. I will have serial number 1. They are. I love my Stridsbergs, and I would give my left big toe for a 24 port. And that would fit perfectly. I mean, I could use just one multi-coupler for the entire radio rack. But you can make your own. Remember, Stridsberg, basically what it is, it's a splitter with an amplifier to overcome the loss that's in there with isolation. So if you can get a good splitter that isolates and put a decent little preamp on there, and if you do it right, you could make your own multi-coupler.
That's for sure.
When I was working for the police department, I was in charge of our radio system. and we had a single antenna on the tower come down, and it went into a preamp and then to a splitter, a very professional splitter, and then down to the individual receivers. So it was basically a Stridsberg on steroids. And in fact, when we had a lightning strike and it took out that system, I brought in one of my Stridsberg from home and plugged it in there and got the system back operational until they could actually replace the that $5,000 splitter that they had. I replaced it with the $200 Stridsberg. You know, temporarily, it worked fine. Let's see here. Dale says his old Bearcat 785 works best on aircraft, both VHF and UHF. Yeah, the 785 was the first digital desktop scanner from Uniden, replaced the 780. And so it was basically a 780 with a digital card built into it. So yeah, the 780s, 785s, 796s work great on aviation channels. Tim is in Texas, and he wants to thank us for their fast shipping. So we aim to please, and we try to aim the shipping at the right place. We do have to acknowledge that there is a lot of issues with shipping these days. We ship things out as soon as we get the order, and as long as we get the order before the truck gets here, they'll ship out the same day, unless there's programming involved, of course. Otherwise, it would ship out the next business day. But UPS and U.S. Postal Service, the two main shippers that we use, are both extremely stressed right now. So they are not guaranteeing any of the expedited shipping things. So if you order something for overnight shipping, it may not be there overnight, and UPS is not refunding the difference. They'll do their best, but they are very stressed. The Postal Service as well. So yeah, please be a little patient. It might take an extra day or two to get it in some areas, and if it doesn't show up after that, or if it gets lost in tracking, just call us and we'll figure out what's going on with it. Dave wants us to show us our mobile mounts, so we'll put that into one of our presentations down the road. That'd be pretty easy for us to do. In fact, if you go to Radio Reference's picture forum, you can see my mobile mount. And if you go to the radio installation forum, you'll see the pre-pictures while I was building the rack for it. That I'm very proud of the way that worked in my car. In fact, I bought that car specifically because of the way the radios were mounted to it. Let's see here. Ray, we are working on the audio differences, and Joe mentions that our three-screen setup does have a little bit higher audio than the other screens. We're trying to get that evened out.
That's weird, because the settings are exactly the same, so I'm not too sure why that's occurring.
Yeah, it's some software glitch, I'm sure. If you have an Amazon Fire TV, they just added a YouTube app to it. So, yeah, you can get YouTube on, you can get it on your smartphone, you can get it on your smart TV, your Apple TV, your Roku, your Fire TV, just about any platform allows you to watch YouTube and allows you to watch us. Let's see here. Glenn watches the YouTube on his 40-inch TV. It's a lot nicer. Yep. And it's a lot easier to see stuff on a big TV. I'm sitting here looking at a 55-inch TV, and it works great, but it's a lot easier to see than it is when you're trying to look on your little 4-inch or 6-inch iPhone screens. Let's see here. The next show is on Canada Day. Oh, that's right. July 1st is Canada Day. So we may have to have a Canada Day background screen. So, happy Canada Day to all of our Canadian friends.
Yes, and as you can see there from the slide, next week's broadcast is Wednesday, July the 1st. You pick the topic. Voting is open right now, and it will continue until Friday at midnight. So get your votes in now. at thescannerguys.weebly.com. That's thescannerguys.weebly.com.
Yep.
You guys pick next week's topic, and we'll talk about it.
All righty. So yeah, Joe and Glenn both remind us that we were quarantine. Spring was during the lockdown and quarantine. So yeah, that's why there was no spring this year, because everybody was stuck inside. Although I was stuck on the patio for a lot. We spent a lot of time on the patio out here in the springtime. Joe doesn't have a smart TV. He's still using a dumb TV. And Chris says he likes watching the Flagstaff radio video. Yep, that's the one I have on almost all day long. Oftentimes, though, I'll have Horseshoe Curve on in the morning, and then when it starts getting dark there, I'll switch over to Flagstaff.
Yeah, we got a really nice email from one of our viewers. They were scanner enthusiasts, and then they turned rail fan. They started watching, a lot of the, rail streams and virtual rail fan, just because we talk about it for so much. And he had it on his big screen TV, and he could hear the trains roaring through his house. So, so certainly, welcome to two of the hobbies that we're both passionate about: rail fanning and scanners.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, I've got it on almost all the time while I'm working, and and like I say, I got it on now. And sometimes, since I've got the two TVs in here, I'll put I'll put one on one screen and one on the other, and it's great. You can watch trains without having to leave the house, and with the lockdown and quarantine, works great. Let's see here. My Mrs. Dorothy. So obviously Will watched Romper Room in his day, and obviously so did Jay, because busy bee. So so those of you who are too young to remember this, Romper Room was a kids television show that was huge back in the 60s and 70s. When I was a little kid, we used to watch Romper Room, and Mrs. Dorothy had her magic screen, I think is what she called it, and basically it was just one of these things, and she used it to say hi to all the kids. She never said hi to me, but she said hi to everybody else but me. And let's see here. There was Miss Molly. Yeah, so there was Mrs. Dorothy and Miss Molly, and I think there's a couple other hosts. So, Will, my friend Will is a grammarian, not a grammatarian, but a grammarian. So he reminds us that marine is on the water and maritime is on international waters. So when we talk about marine radio, it means you're on the water. When we're talking about maritime radio, it means we're on international waters. So I will take your word for it, Will, as I know how much you are into the grammar thing. So the same thing for aeromobile. In the air on an airplane, it's aeronautical. In the air on an airplane, aeromobile is in the air, just in the air. And then aeronautical is over international waters. So I'll take your word for it.
So is that what you're watching right now, Flagstaff?
Yes.
And you can see it on the actual our screen too.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a live look at our friends over at Virtual Rail Fan. That's the Flagstaff camera facing eastbound. And this is what we're talking about. It's kind of like, you're sitting at the Flagstaff station there, but instead, you're doing this from the comfort of your own home. And we're actually seeing this as a live feed, watching, you can see vehicles off in the distance there. And Rich, you've been to this location several times, right?
Yeah, I try to get there once or twice a month. It's about a 3-hour drive for me, but it's the best rail fanning in Arizona, and it's a great spot to watch trains. And the neat thing about it is you can't really tell from the shot, but you're at about 5,000 feet, and it's just coming down from the mountain. So the trains going eastbound or from the left, from the right to the left, are going downhill. And at night, you can see the dynamic brakes glowing on the engines as they're going down, and on the trains going upwards or from the left to the right, they are working their tails off trying to get up the hill. So if you've got a long train with not enough power, they're going to be working, and they are loud. And if you're standing on the platform, they are hot. You can feel the heat coming off those engines as they go by, and you can feel it vibrating. And it's fantastic. And the neat thing about this is they have a welcome center inside the station building where the cameras there, and there's public restrooms. There's a gift shop in there, and you're right there in downtown Flagstaff. In fact, in the view, you can see a restaurant right there, and there's behind you. There's a whole bunch of restaurants in all downtown Flagstaff. There's every type of place you can imagine, and everything is walking distance. So when I go there, I'll walk all the way around the neighborhood and stuff like that, and it's great. And right behind the camera is Highway 66. So if you're a Highway 66 guy, that's right there. All righty. So Joe confirms my experience with the PL tones on the Marine channels that I spoke of earlier. Lincoln from San Diego is checking in. And Glenn asks if I caught any of the Miller yesterday with the Combat Air Patrol tankers and the VIPs in the air in Yuma and Phoenix. So the president went to Yuma, Arizona, which is 3 hours the other way from here, and then he went to Phoenix. I did catch a lot of oddball airplanes on my ADS-B monitor, and I did hear some of the cap operations. But to tell you the truth, the rest of the time I was kind of busy, and so I didn't have a chance to listen to it. But I did catch some of it while he was flying around the area. And they have whenever the president flies into an airport, they have a TFR, or a temporary flight restriction, where they basically close the airspace down for a certain distance to the airport while the president's plane is coming in or leaving. And so that does kind of disrupt operations at the airport. In fact, one time I was plane watching out here probably 8 years ago, and Obama was president at the time, and I was sitting in my car in my favorite spot watching planes go by overhead. And then I realized for about 15 minutes I hadn't seen an airplane, and because I was sitting there reading a magazine and stuff, watching the planes, and I realized I haven't seen a plane in 10 or 15 minutes. I couldn't figure out what's going on. And then I heard the engines, and I'm like, oh, okay, here comes something, and it was Air Force One coming in, and I'm like, oh, the president's coming into town today. I had no clue that he was coming into town. He flew right overhead. And so that was first time I got pictures of Air Force One in the air.
That's really cool. Isn't that kind of like a novelty thing to be able to get in the aviation circles, as photos of Air Force One?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And regardless of your thoughts of of the president, if you're for or against him, the airplane itself is the prime target of anybody who likes to take pictures of airplanes. It's the most iconic aircraft out there. There was a interview when I was the vice president of a group called the O'Hare Airport Watch, and that was a group of plane nuts that we cooperated with the local police in and around the O'Hare Airport. And if we saw anything suspicious, we had a specific phone number that we could call to report it. And we had vests on there so that we were identifiable. So it helped us because we weren't hassled for standing around watching airplanes. And the local police all knew who we were. And we had a way to contact in case anything got anything suspicious. Plus, we got to do things like tours of the airport and stuff, which was awesome. But CNN came out and did an interview with us, and they did a big thing and a big article. In fact, it still pops up in the CNN feed every once in a while. And the question they asked me was, what is your biggest catch and stuff? And it was just like, oh, Air Force One, and to see Air Force One is just like nirvana for airplane people. It's like seeing a steam engine for a rail fan.
Yeah, that's for sure. Something that's on the main line where it doesn't typically see that, or any of
Yep.
the heritage units that a lot of the railroads have. That's something awesome to be able to see. And, of course, the Pennsylvania one that keeps eluding me. Uh,
Yeah.
so the Norfolk
Yeah.
Southern Pennsylvania one, I'm going to get that one at some point, hopefully.
The one that has this on it?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Same color. It needs to be
Yeah.
washed. All
Yeah.
the Norfolk
I sh-
Southern
yeah.
heritage units need to be washed.
I should have worn this shirt last week. Yeah, we were talking about rail fanning.
Did you not? Well, what did we? I forgot what we wore for
We
shirts.
wore Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've got tons of train shirts as well. Matter of
I
fact,
don't know why we didn't think of it.
yeah, I had my 611 hat
Mm-hmm.
on last week.
Yep. Let's see here. Joe says we all should move to Arizona. No, we like to keep a low profile here. If everybody moves here, then it'll be just like California, but hot.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so Dale says that we were talking about putting LMR 400 or RG8 on a mag mount. He says the mag mount from Larson might support it, but it would be a lot of fun to solder it in. So yeah, it's not a good idea. I don't think it's not going to help you to put RG8 on a magnet mount. Let's see here. Awesome antennas. The antennas we were talking about. Mike is in Cumberland, Maryland. That's a great rail fanning spot too, by the way. Have you ever been down there?
I've been through Maryland, but I haven't done any rail fanning in Cumberland.
Yeah, spent a lot of time there at the depot watching CSX trains going up and down the mountain there. Let's see here. Ira is from Detroit again. Two cities are on the same system, but one city is encrypted and the other one does not. Can the encrypted city transmit to the unencrypted city? Fantastic question, Ira. Yes, they can, and they can do it in a couple different ways. So they can have, as long as the unencrypted town has the encryption capabilities, then they can switch over to the encrypted city's frequency and talk to them with encryption. Or if they don't have that, they will probably have some sort of interoperability talk group that is not encrypted that they can both talk to each other on. So like the area where I live, the town I live in is encrypted. But when they talk to the neighboring town, which is not encrypted, they switch over to a interop channel so they can talk to like an intercom channel that they can talk to the other towns on. I would imagine if they had something big, they would use what they call the events channels. But there's no reason why, if Mayberry's encrypted and Mount Pilot isn't, there's no reason why Mount Pilot can't have the encryption capabilities in their radios to talk to Mayberry, their channels, and obviously to listen to them.
That's for sure.
We had radios that were on the county system. The county was encrypted all the time, and that was the only way we could hear the county sheriff on those radios because we had their radios. So let's see here. Monitor simulcast system. Can you lock out the control channel? He has a TRX1 and it stops on it all the time. No, Henry, you don't want to do that at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah. When you are monitoring any trunking system, especially a P25 system, if you program it as a P25 system, you have to have the control channels in there, and when the radio tracks that system, you won't hear that control data if it's programmed properly. So if you just have the frequencies put into a scanner in conventional mode or a non-trunking mode, you're going to hear that control channel, but it's not going to track the conversations. So if you lock out the control channel, yeah, you'll be able to hear the voice traffic, but you won't be able to tell that it's the police or the fire or anything else like that. The whole idea behind having a trunk tracking scanner is so that you can program it properly and monitor the trunking system, and it will automatically lock onto that data signal. You won't hear it, but it'll lock onto that data signal and direct your radio to the proper frequency being used. So that's the proper way to program a trunking system. And if it's programmed properly, you will never hear the control channel, and you won't have to lock it out. Jerry confirmed our. Oh yeah, thank you, Jerry. Yeah, we already spoke about that. That the threshold settings on the 996s are global on the radio, not to the individual system. And Joe confirmed that he usually found the default settings for P25 are usually fine. Again, your results might vary, and it might vary from system to system. So if you've got multiple systems, it might work well on one and work poorly on the other. Illinois Field Day is going to be the pandemic edition. Everybody is going to be using their backyard as the field. That's a great way of doing field day. Go in your backyard, maintain your social distancing, and just pretend you're 50 miles away from nowhere. It's still going to be the same effect. It's just going to be the transit time's going to be a lot less. Let's see here. Chris says the U.S. should do what the United Kingdom is doing, England. They don't let people listen to them on the scanners. I don't agree with that. This is an open society, and obviously I'm a scanner guy. Personally, I think we should be able to hear police traffic. And the nice thing about a trunking system is it's a lot less likely for people to do what they did on some of these radio systems around the country and interfere with the police department communications. So that part is absolutely wrong. But dispatch operations, in my opinion, they should be in the clear, or in the clear, so anybody can listen to them. You can put events channels, tactical channels in encryption, for those type of things. But the day-to-day stuff should be open, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about a trunking system, you have the ability of having multiple channels. With old conventional systems, you would have to have multiple repeaters to be able to support multiple channels. With a trunk system, you can have, your dispatch channel, you can have a secondary channel, you could have some tactical channels, some SWAT channels. Those talk groups can be, if they want to use encryption on those particular channels, they could have a channel that they use as secure. So, you can go to secure 1, and then, the officers that are working an incident and they're putting over the radio sensitive information, they can switch to that channel. It's very simple to do on their end, and then, keep the day-to-day in the clear. I mean, for the most part, most police departments do want some sort of transparency, so the public can hear. And then the other thing, too, is not everyone is bad listening. I mean, that's another set of eyes and ears that are out there, being able to see what's going on. Take for instance, a bolo, be on the lookout for a particular individual or vehicle or something, gets transmitted over a radio. And, you're a scanner enthusiast, you hear that, you spot that vehicle, you can then call the police department and say, hey, I just saw that vehicle on such and such street. And then they can send out a unit and take a look to see if they can find it. I mean, that's extra eyes and ears. Of course, you're not going to interfere with police work, but if you do see something that was mentioned over the radio, at least you can point them in the right direction.
Absolutely. Well, it's really weird because the town I live in, of course, is encrypted itself, but their events channels and their car-to-car channels are not encrypted. So they actually switched to the unencrypted channels to talk about the sensitive stuff. And their routine stuff is encrypted, so it does make a whole lot of sense.
Wow,
so,
that's...
Yeah. So I've talked to the police chief about the encryption here a couple times, and they've got their reasons, which I totally understand. I just disagree with it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the putting in the sensitive stuff on the wide open channels is kind of bizarre.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't mention that to him because I still want to be able to listen to it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Leave that part out.
One of Mike's projects during the lockdown has been to update the radio reference wiki on encrypted agencies. So that's a great project. If you're into that, you can make good use of your time to help inform others by working on wiki pages. That's a great thing. So Joe's gonna be doing field day someplace. And let's see here. Um, yeah, Dave liked the cardboard shack. That was good. So, so Joe's got a club where they do a winter field day. Boy, that should be a lot of fun, especially up north.
Oh yeah, with the snow coming down, or those batteries are not going to last too long, especially when it's cold out. There's the cardboard
Yeah.
shack there. Just a reminder, if you want to show off your shack, you can send an email to thescannerguys@gmail.com. That's thescannerguys@gmail.com. So if you want to send us an email, you can do it that way with your shack photos. And please, by all means, put in a brief description just so we have, what you listen to, and we can know what's going, like what you like to listen to and so on.
Yep.
Let me just put up one other slide here. I got to go to it. And if you have general questions, we don't monitor the Scanner Guys Gmail account all the time. So if you have like general questions for scanners, related scanner questions, you want to definitely email them to support@scannermaster.com. We just want to take a moment and remind you, if you've got questions or need help ordering, you can also give us a call weekdays, Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. Excuse me, not from 7 a.m. From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time at 1-800-722-6637. We're open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm not too sure what.
Yeah, but it's 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what I was thinking there. We're open 24/7 at scannermaster.com. So yeah, definitely give us a call if you got questions, or if you've got particular scanner related questions. Support@scannermaster.com is the email address to send those to.
All righty. So Joe, I gave Joe a hard time because he didn't buy one of our racks, and he further adds onto it that his stack is 5 units high, and then plus he can add one more at the top. That's why he didn't buy one of ours. Still, that's no excuse, Joe. Wow. But that it was less expensive to use the boards, and he made 3 of those things. So Joe obviously has a lot of radios, just like I do. So you know what? If you've got the skills, more power to you, partner.
And that's for sure.
John asks about preamps. What type of preamps? So preamps are kind of a sticky wicket with me. I'm not a huge fan of preamps in urban areas. The problem with preamps is sometimes they will overload your scanners. So the preamp in a Stridsberg multi-coupler is just strong enough to overcome the connector loss. It's not designed to increase your signal strength. It's designed to overcome the connector loss. A preamp in an urban area will just also amplify noise. So I'm not a huge fan of using preamps unless you really, really need them. And then if you do, the best place for a preamp is up at the antenna, not down at the radio. And there's technical reasons for that, but the best place for a preamp is always up at the antenna itself. So if you're going to use a preamp and you can put it up at the antenna, then it'll work much better than trying to put it at the radio. We do have a couple preamps on our page. We have the Jim M75, which is designed to go right on the radio. It works really well, but again, in an urban area, they can overload things, and it's not designed to go at the antenna. We have some other matchbox sized preamps. They work really well, and they work great connected to the antenna, but you're going to have to run power up to them and do a little bit of soldering on the power connector, so they're not plug and play, but they work really well. Let's see here. Glue Gun, it's great stuff to remove the glue. Yep. We were talking about trying to remove Velcro off of things. If you, again, don't forget to vote on the topic you want us to talk about. And so go to Scanner Guys thescannerguys.weebly.com and vote there. Um, oh, Dave brings up a very good point. Velcro is great to be mounting a radio on the dash, but there are a couple things to remember. If you're in a hot environment, or even if you're not in a hot environment, but you have bright sun, that uh, can actually melt the glue. The other problem you're going to have putting radios on top of the dashboard is what happens if you're in a crash. Now you've got a radio that's going to break loose of the Velcro and aim right at your head. So putting it on top of the dashboard is probably not a good spot, especially with Velcro. If you have it mounted to a bracket, that's better. But Velcro is great, but be careful.
Yeah, the other thing that we need to consider in modern vehicles is the airbags. You want to
Yeah.
make sure that you're mounting the scanner not where there's an airbag that's going to deploy. So, you'll get a scanner to the face if you're mounting it where an airbag deploys. You don't want that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I did a crash once where a lady had a perfect imprint of an iPhone on her forehead because she put a mount on. She was on the in the car, and she put a mount on the steering wheel for her phone. I don't know if she velcroed or what, but she had the mount on the steering wheel. When the airbag went off, the phone went and implanted her in the forehead, and obviously destroyed the phone, caused a lot of damage to her forehead. Don't do that.
That's for sure. Don't do that at all. Do you want to dive into the mailbag one more time? I think we got one more.
Uh, yeah,
One
sure.
more slide. So, what does this one say, Rich?
All right, so let me slide this over. So Glenn says he tries to catch us every week. He attached a picture of his old 2 meter mobile antenna, which he repurposed for his scanner. And there you see the antenna on the right. It's a mag mount 2 meter antenna. He's got it repurposed for his BC 125 AT. He put the mobile antenna on an old computer cover on his back deck, and it does increase his reception. He can get more traffic from Midway Airport and the Chicago PD. He's about 15 miles west of Chicago in the city of Brookfield by the Brookfield Zoo. So the old computer cases were made out of sheet metal, and they're what, yay big,
Yeah.
2 feet, 2 foot. Great ground plane for a magnet mount antenna, and it's a great way to recycle some old metal stuff, and works great. Mag mount antennas on scanners are fine. Don't use mag mount antennas for transmitting radios, but for scanners, they often work really well. So you could have done the same thing with a one of our mini Spectrum Force mini mag mounts. This is a 2 meter antenna, so it should work really well on VHF. And if he's got a 125, he's probably listened to Midway Airport, which is obviously on VHF, AM VHF, and then Chicago Police, which is on UHF. But the 2 meter antenna seems to work fine for him. So a great way to recycle old stuff and to keep it out of the landfill.
That's for
So
sure.
thanks for your letter, Greg.
We appreciate that. No, we love getting those comments and those scanner tricks on our email of the scannerguys@gmail.com.
Absolutely. Dave asked if there's a longer power cord for his 125 than the one that comes with the radio. So the 125, as well as most handheld scanners these days, use USB to power and to charge the batteries. You can get long USB cables. I've got a 15-foot USB cable running from my radio stack, which is behind me, to the PC, which is in front of me, and it works great. And you can get USB extension cables as well. We don't have them, but you can get them all over the place. The Big A has them, and like I say, they work fine. Like I said, I got that 15-footer, and it works fine. There's supposed to be a limit. I think it's a 16-foot limit on USB without using an inline repeater. But to tell you the truth, I've actually put extensions on this thing. It had as long as 25, 30 feet, and I've never had a problem. But you don't want to push your luck. But for power, it shouldn't be a problem. Let's see here. Ray's got a diamond antenna, works great. He's got the TH77CA diamond antennas. They make some good stuff. Joe is watching us in his vehicle at the Schiller Park Metro Station, watching trains and planes at the same time. So, Joe, I've been there many times. Schiller Park Metro Station is one of the O'Hare Airport watchers' favorite spots for watching planes because it's a public parking lot. It's right underneath the flight path. Plus, you can watch trains and planes at the same time from your automobile. So he's got planes, trains, and automobiles all at the same time. That's great. Um, and Joe, you've probably seen me out there if you were doing that 5 years ago. So John says the TRX scanners from Whistler allows the threshold and settings to be set for multiple site systems. So apparently on the Whistler scanners, you can adjust the threshold settings for different systems versus globally. So fantastic. Thanks for that, John. Um, Joe asks about what companies market, why do companies market antennas like for TVs for digital TV or color TV or HD TV?
Ha! It's just a
I love that.
gimmick.
Just a gimmick, exactly. In fact, I had somebody call me and asked a question. Said, I'm listening to a digital system, so I need to get a digital antenna." I said, "No, you don't. You need an antenna for the frequency that you're listening to. Antennas don't care if it's analog or digital, AM or FM. It cares about the frequency involved. So you want an antenna that's made specifically for the frequency or the frequency range that you want to listen to. It doesn't matter if it's analog or digital, color or black and white, HD or standard definition. So, um, yeah, and then you can get UHF only TV antennas, and you can use TV antennas for a scanner. And this question came up in another forum earlier as well. The question that was come up is, can I use my TV antenna for my scanner? Um, the answer to that is, yeah, maybe. It might work pretty well. Try it and see what happens. But remember, a TV antenna is intended to be horizontally polarized, while a scanner antenna is going to be vertically polarized. So if you take a TV antenna, and the other thing with TV antennas is you're usually directional, and you point them to the station you want to listen to. So yeah, if you hook up your scanner to a TV antenna, it might work good enough for your local stuff. If you take that TV antenna and you tilt it on its side, now you've got yourself a vertically polarized, very directional antenna. And I actually have used one of those antennas where I mounted it on the side and put it on a rotor, and it worked really well for a scanner because the frequency ranges of a TV antenna overlap the frequency ranges of a scanner, so they work really well. The other thing you can do too is use TV style coax and splitters and amplifiers for your scanner. Even though the TV antenna stuff is rated at 75 ohms and scanners are supposedly 50 ohms, it works there's no difference for a scanner. It works just fine. I use TV style RG6 quad shield coax for some of my antennas, and it works great. Obviously, you don't transmit through those, but you can do that. So yeah, you can use TV antenna stuff for scanners and vice versa, but there are some things to consider. Let's see here. That same antenna or the same question we answered earlier came up here. So apparently our Bruce is watching here. Let's see here. Did Grove change the design of their scanner beam so that it was designed for vertical? I don't remember on the scanner beam. I had a friend of mine who had a scanner beam, but it was up on his roof, so I never got a chance to look at it closely. But a scanner beam obviously is meant to be vertical. The boom may or may not have had holes on both sides so you can mount it horizontally or vertically. I don't recall. And then Joe continues on the Ohio Mark system. It seems doesn't use load sharing on their voice channel allocations. Okay, yeah. So on a trunking system, like the Ahoya Mark system, you have a control channel, and on Motorola built P25 systems, that control channel normally doesn't change unless there's a problem, and then it'll be forced to change. And then you have two or three or four or five voice channels on each site or more. Um, and on some systems, they're programmed so that the voice channel from the first conversation goes on this channel, and then the next one, and then the next one, and the next one to kind of even out the load. And not all Motorola systems are designed that way, and it's a programming option. Sometimes you'll see some sites where the voice channel tends to be on a specific channel all the time, unless it's busy, and then it'll go to the next one. So Motorola systems are designed to have the radios being able to transmit all day, every day, for years at a time. Um, Systems built by Harris tend to rotate the control channel and tend to rotate the voice channels through the systems to load share or to balance the load between different channels. So it's just a quirky thing that you really wouldn't notice unless you paid a lot of attention to it. And then the next question he asks is, what do we think the biggest achievements to scanners will be in the next 5 years? Jonathan, what do you think?
I know we've been talking about possibly some Bluetooth capability inside the scanner to be able to to have the ability to put an external speaker that's
Yeah,
Bluetooth ready. There's so many Bluetooth speakers that are out and about. I know that's one of the things that's been banged around quite a bit on Radio Reference.
yeah,
Of course, Whistler has yet to release a software-driven type of unit like the SDSs. So we're still waiting on that camp to release something that's equivalent to the SDS 100 or 200. So I would assume, that Whistler's due for something new. So if
yeah,
they want to stay competitive in the scanner business, then they'll want to come out with something that's new and different. I think, is there a Home Patrol 3 in the works? That would
yeah,
be interesting to see with DMR, Pro Voice, and NextEdge to see it in a Home
yeah,
Patrol 3 type of setup. I mean, clearly we can fit, like we can fit all the technology in a 325P2, so we should be able to fit it
yeah.
inside of a Home Patrol. I mean,
Yeah, I would love to be able to see a much more car-friendly mobile scanner.
yeah, remote
The
head.
SDS, yeah, remote heads, or build the entire scanner into a remote head size case. So you imagine an SDS 200 front, but only an inch thick, and then use an external speaker on that, and that would be ideal. I'd pay a lot of money for something like that for my car.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you could just take thinking outside the box here, you take the SDS 100, flip it on its side, flip this keypad
Yeah,
around, flip this display
yeah,
so it's long, change the shape of the unit so it's more square, and there you go.
yeah.
You've got a remote head type of unit right there with just using the technology that you have with the SDS 200.
Yeah.
Just
Or
be
what about this? What about having a radio that's all display and then you use your smartphone to program it?
that would be interesting.
Hmm.
That would be interesting because, to be honest with you, the scanner community hasn't been, how should I put this?
Represented?
No, Mac friendly.
Oh, yeah.
Mac friendly on the. I mean, the only thing that's crossed over into the Mac world is the Siren app. Other than
Yeah.
that, there's nothing. There's no software. That would be an interesting thing too. Is if somebody
Yeah.
developed software that would program scanners on a Mac. We do have a lot of Mac customers, and they have
Yeah.
to use Parallels or some other software to run their Mac as a Windows-based operating system. But to have actual software that would operate on a Mac to be able to program their scanner, I mean, the huge thing would be if Uniden made their Sentinel softwares able to work on a Mac. Because
Yeah.
a vast majority of the radios on their camp is Home Patrol type of scanners, such as the Home Patrol 1 and 2, 536, 436, and the SDS 100 and 200. I mean, we used to spend a lot of time on the phone just trying to think of various things. And I know,
Yeah.
remote head is something that's huge for the two of us, that, we would love to be able to. I mean, if I had a couple, I would love to have the SDS technology in a remote head. And I'd be happy to put two of those in my vehicle because it wouldn't take up very much space.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, everybody's got their pet, things that they would love to have, and that would be a great show topic as well.
yeah, I mean, that would be something that we would love to cover. We would have
Yeah.
to have everybody submit their. Maybe that's another thing we can do on the website. You can submit your pet peeves, and then we can go over the top ones and give a little bit of that's possible. Ooh, that's a little way
Yeah.
off. Of
Yep.
course, scanner that can monitor encryption, which that's not going to happen.
That never
That
happen.
will
That's the
never
biggest thing that
happen.
we get requests on. Yeah. All right. So a little bit unrelated to scanning, Mike was pouring himself some Ocean Spray cranberry cocktail at dinner tonight, and he saw that it was bottled in a little town called Middleborough, Massachusetts. And he was thinking about you when he saw that.
Yeah, Middleborough, Massachusetts is where one of the facilities are for Ocean Spray. And originally, Massachusetts was one of the top producers for cranberries. And I
Yep.
believe it's, I can't remember what state it is. It's in a different part.
Maryland, I think. Yeah.
Maryland, I think, is it Michigan? Also,
Well, could be.
yeah, there's one of the states now that produce more cranberries than Massachusetts did. And growing up in that area, I saw a whole ton of cranberry bogs. And if anybody's familiar with Edaville Railroad, that's in Carver, Massachusetts. The railroad was a 2-footer narrow gauge that would take you on a about 5-mile journey through all the cranberry bogs. Since Edaville was taken over by several hands after many years of being, bought out and sold and bought out and sold, they've shortened the ride, which I'm kind of disappointed because I love the 5-mile ride because you got to see in various times of the year, you were able to see them working the cranberry bogs, and then the train would
Yeah.
go around. And originally, they would use the train to transport things, in and out of the bogs as well, but they don't do that anymore. They use trucks and so on. But yeah,
Yeah.
Middleborough, Massachusetts is where they bottle still to this day. And then the corporate headquarters is in the neighboring town in Lakeville, Massachusetts. And I believe that's still the same. I haven't been to Middleborough well over since I've been down here in the Carolinas, so well over a year.
Yeah. All righty. Tim asks if he can format new SD cards with the Sentinel software.
Yes,
Absolutely.
totally.
You betcha. So the thing you want to do when you buy a brand new SD card, remember, don't go anything over 32 gigs because the radio is designed to work with 32 gigs or less. But when you buy the SD card, format it in Windows first, get a drive letter, then go into Sentinel, and under the scanner menu or the Home Patrol menu, if you got the Home Patrol Sentinel, you'll see an item that says Clear User Data. And then click on the little pop-up window is going to pop up. You'll probably have to click on the little box that says View All Drives. And when you do that, you should see that drive in there. Click on that, and what that will do is it will take a Windows formatted SD card and add the particular files necessary to make it visible to the scanner. And once you do that, go in and update your database, write the database to the SD card, and copy your favorites lists over to it with the Sentinel software. But yeah, you format in Windows first, and then you use Sentinel to make it visible to the scanner. If you don't do that step, the scanner will never be able to see it.
Yeah, and Steve mentioned it's Wisconsin for cranberries. I couldn't remember what
Ah,
state it was,
okay.
but when I was growing up, it started to move towards Wisconsin for the amount
Mhm.
of production of cranberries. So they kind of
Yeah.
beat Massachusetts in production. So it was Wisconsin. Thanks, Steve, for that.
The reason I thought it was in Maryland is because I've actually been to cranberry bogs in Maryland, and I didn't know there were more of them out there. So,
Oh yeah, there's
um,
quite a few of them in the and
yeah.
still in Carver, Massachusetts, and Middleborough, and some of the
Mhm.
surrounding areas there.
John asks if he can transmit through the splitter or isolator, or they receive only. No, do not transmit through these devices. They are designed for receive only. If you transmit through it, first thing you're going to do is smoke the multicoupler, and the second thing you're going to do is smoke your radio. So don't transmit through them. You don't want to do that. Let's see. 3D TV is next. Yeah, that's what we need to do. The 3D scanner guys show.
Oh wow, yeah, that would be crazy. I mean, we
Oh.
definitely right now we're on a shoestrings budget, so hopefully,
That's okay. We're too ugly for 3D. We're ugly enough for as it is. So, oh, let's see. Oh, Dave asks what bottle I'm on. So I'm on number 3, and I've got 2 more here. So see if I can make it to 5 bottles by the time we're done. My age is showing with some of the stuff I've said tonight. Yeah, I've been around a few. I've been around a while. Um, let's see here. Oh, the president's going to Marionette, Wisconsin tomorrow, which is right on the Wisconsin-Michigan border up in the far northern, northeastern part of Wisconsin. I've spent a lot of time up in Marinette and Menominee. Um, so that's where he's going tomorrow to visit a shipyard up there. So there should be some good listening. Um, what's the best way to get into railroad scanning? Buy the BC 125 AT or the BCT 15X. Uh, affordable scanners. They work really well on railroad channels, and then just use the service search and start scanning them until you figure out what channel is used for what, and then you can add them to your scanner.
yeah,
So there's the 125.
and the great source for railroad scanning is radioreference.com to be able to look up frequencies that are known to that area. Today,
Yep.
I was out able to do a little bit of rail fanning. I caught Norfolk Southern local doing some work,
Yeah.
and I was sitting there watching that for a little bit, and
Yep.
it's a lot of fun doing some rail fanning, listening to them communicate over the radio, especially if they're doing yard moves or doing local moves. You can hear what's going on. And of course, you can
Hmm.
hear what's going on the local main line. In case you missed it, last week we talked about rail fanning with a scanner. So definitely check that out on our YouTube channel for those videos as well.
Absolutely. Joe, the question earlier about encrypted agencies talking to non-encrypted agencies, he brings up a point which I've seen before, where one of his local systems they had a problem that they couldn't patch an encrypted talk group to a non-encrypted talk group. So yeah, so patching between encrypted and non-encrypted systems is problematic. They those type of things need to be tested on a system basis, so make sure they can get that to work properly. Um, so is there a site that lists all the railroad jargon itself? Jonathan, do you have a list of terminology and jargon that they use on the railroads on your site?
I know that we posted some during the slideshow last week.
Hmm.
Some of the channels. As for jargon, that would be a great blog entry for me to do. So I should definitely put together a blog entry. I haven't had a lot of time to do some blog entries lately, but I got to sit down and write some. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely that would be a good blog entry to be able to do.
All righty. So Dave asks what type of antenna would work best on a van. Um, well, it isn't. Yeah, it's the radio mount. I'm sorry, the radio mount. So yeah, in a van you got more room, so you're gonna have to look at where you're gonna mount it. I've seen some people mounted it on the cowl over the engine, which was between the seats on some of the vans. It's been a long time since I've driven a full size van, but I drive a minivan now. I actually got a Honda Odyssey, and on the Odyssey, there's a space between the dashboard and the center console about yay big, and it's just big enough to fit 3 radios, and it works great. The other van, it all depends on the interior of the van. Just remember to your airbag deployment zone and keep it off the top of the dashboard.
Good tips.
Yep. So Northwoods Gaming asks, when you're loading a trunking system, do you load all the sites in that county? Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. So when you're looking at a wide area system and you want to listen to one specific area, you're going to have to look at what sites are in your county and perhaps in the neighboring county. So if you live 3 miles from the border, you might want to look at the county next door to see if that site is something that could be used in your area. And on the Uniden scanner, you can add additional sites and scan through them. So, yeah, you're probably going to want to have all the sites within your county and perhaps the ones in the neighboring counties if you think they're going to be relatively close enough for you to hear them. And you can tell if they're close enough to hear them. Just pop in the control channel for that site into the scanner quickly. And if you can hear the control channel, then it's probably a good idea to program that site.
Yeah, just looking at radio reference, I pulled up the Viper trunk system here. You can see here that the system covers North Carolina and some of Georgia. It probably dips in there just a little bit, and you can see that there's a whole slew of sites for the Viper system here. Now, typically, what I do on radio reference, you can see that in the spreadsheet here, it shows the site, the name, the county, the frequencies. You can actually sort by county. So if you click on the tab there, it'll refresh the page, and it'll put the counties in alphabetical order. So it'll kind of group them together. So if you're doing your research for that particular system and you want to see Cleveland County, you can see all these sites that are here listed right here that are related to this particular county. So you can remember that King Mountain South, Shelsby are a few of the ones that you want to program in. As you can see that some sites, there's multiple sites for a county, like Franklin County. There's 4 of them here. And just looking through it, and this is one of the larger trunk systems that are covering the whole entire state. So radio reference is an awesome tool to be able to do research on a particular trunk system. So certainly, if you're getting into scanning and you're doing the programming on your own, make sure that you're using radio reference because it's such a valuable tool. Even if you have one of the radios like the Home Patrol or the TRX1 or 2 that you're using the manufacturer's software. Yes, the radio reference database is in the software, but it's best to do your homework looking at the database, especially if you're creating a favorites list or a scan list. You want to make sure that you're scanning exactly what you need, and you don't want to put in every single site because it's going to slow down your scanning speed.
Yeah, but just put in the sites you think you're going to use, but not all the sites that you're going to be able to hear or that are going to work best for you are the ones in your county. It might be the ones in the neighboring county. Now, where I live, I mean, my county is bigger than most countries, so all the sites I'm going to listen to are in my county. But where I lived in Illinois, if I was close to the border between Cook and Lake, sometimes the Lake County sites were better for me to listen to than the Cook County sites, and vice versa. Joe says the follow-up to a question we had earlier about using cable extensions for the USB power. Make sure you use a heavy-duty cable or you run the risk of enough loss in that cable to get a low voltage error on your scanner. So make sure you use high-quality cables for USB when you're trying to power your radio. That's good advice. Thank you, Joe.
Very good advice, that's for sure. Oops.
You all right?
Yeah, I just something fell down.
Problem is I can't see you for a couple of seconds until because of latency. So Chris asked about Chicago PD. Are they going to be going to the P25 system? So yes, eventually they will. But knowing Chicago, it might be a couple of years before they get it all built out properly. So don't sweat it for now, but eventually they are going to go to a P25 system. I hope that they aren't going to encrypt, but with the recent events, I don't know. So Jerry, who is from Chicago area, and he's a very trusted source. There, it's going to be about 2 years. So, and then Will thinks that they're all going to be encrypted all the time. So I hope that they won't be, but I have a feeling they probably will be, especially after what's been going on there the last couple of weeks or so. Um, Okay, kind of lost my. Here we go. Train going through Flagstaff. Yeah, I've been watching the train. So yeah, there was a train when you posted that. Oh yeah, for the Mac people, there is a new app to monitor and log your SDS on the Mac. It's at the Apple store for the Mac, not for iOS for the phone, but for the actual Mac itself. There's been some discussion about it at Radio Reference in the forums. So yeah, you can use this software on your Mac to monitor and log from your SDS. I don't think it does any programming. It just kind of remotes the control of it. But yeah, I've seen that. I haven't played with that software yet, but that's on my list of things. Let's see here. Wisconsin for cranberries. Yeah, thank you, Steve. Andy is in Duplainville, Wisconsin. And he says under, yep, you're right, Andy, about that. Duplainville is a neat place. It's where the old Sioux crosses the new Sioux. So if you're a rail fan, you'll know what I mean. The old Sioux was the original Sioux Line main line going north from Chicago to Minneapolis and then to Sault Ste. Marie. And they sold that off to form the Wisconsin Central. And then the Sioux Line bought the Milwaukee Road. Well, those two lines crossed at Duplainville. So the Sioux Line moved most of their operations to the Milwaukee Road, sold their old line to the Wisconsin Central. So it was the new Sioux crossing the old Sioux. And let's see here. And anybody know when and if South Dakota is going to be going to the P25 Phase 2? That's a good question. The best thing to do would be to keep an eye on the radio reference database. There is a statewide Motorola trunking system that uses P25 modulation, but it's not a P25 control channel. It's still using the older Motorola style control channel. So they are on VHF digital, but it's not technically P25. So for all your Wisconsin people, the president apparently is also going to be in Green Bay. Steve, no. We will not have 3D and smell-o-vision on the scanner, guys.
No, we smell fine.
We will not subject you to that. Well, you might.
I just...
Well, I will. I'll smell fine next Wednesday because it'll be the first of the month that I will have taken my monthly bath.
Oh, that's good to know. I just want...
But yeah, 3 weeks away from my bath, so...
I just wanted to let people know that are Radio Reference users. There's a cool thing that you can do if you're a free member or a paid member, is you can set certain trunk systems or certain counties on your own homepage. When you're logged into your account, your homepage will look slightly different. You're able to set some of these systems as favorites or watches, I believe is what they call it on there. And you can see on mine, I'm monitoring a couple of counties in North Carolina. I'm also monitoring some railroads in various states, Massachusetts, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And the great thing about this, it follows the same coloring scheme. So green is the latest updates, yellow is a little bit older, and it also shows the date when it was last updated. So if there's any particular system that you're interested in, you can put them into a watch. And I spend a lot of time on Radio Reference, so this is the homepage that I go to. I also have some of my favorite radio audio feeds there as well, so I can go into those fairly easy by just one click. But yeah, this is something that you can do, especially if you're monitoring a particular system and you're wondering if they're going to go, there's going to be some major changes. It's already listed in the database. You can put it right here on your homepage as a watch. and then you can see, oh, there's been an update as of 6/24. Wait a minute, that's today. So,
Yeah.
so you could definitely take a look.
Well, that's a fantastic tip, and it's extremely helpful to keep an eye on it. The other thing too is watch the forums. So they're all going to be discussing the forums quite a bit too. And to further answer the original question, apparently Dale says that North Dakota is in the process of going to 700 and 800 megahertz trunked, very early stages of being work on that. So watch for that. Right now, the current system is VHF, so the new system will be on 700 and 800 megahertz. But being that North Dakota is a pretty large state, it's going to take a long time and a lot of money and effort to get that built out. So I'm sure it'll be a couple of years before that system is built out. All right, and it looks like we got a question here from Steve. Asks, I know we've talked about this before, but what do you recommend for air frequencies for civilian and air and military? And we will give you 3 guesses as to our favorite scanner for that. And if their first guess is the BC-125AT, you'll be right.
Yeah, here it is, right here. I have it right at arm's reach. The 125AT is the favorite scanner of mine, and there's also a service search for aviation, and it also includes mil air, so you're able to use that service search for civilian and mil air.
Yeah, and it works really well on both the VHF and UHF aircraft as well as railroads. That's why we love to use that for what I call transportation scanners. So it works really, really well for that, and it's my favorite. If it's my go-to scanner when I'm out chasing trains or chasing planes, which I do quite often. So. And we have actually reached the bottom of our question list, or our comment list. So it's been, what, an hour and a half?
Yeah.
We've been on?
No, we've been on for longer than that. It's been two and a half hours.
Yeah. So, wow, this is, I think, the longest show we've done.
Yeah, it's the longest show we've done in a long time. So what we'll do is we'll give you a moment to ask any last minute questions. I'm going to go through some of the slides here, so we'll remind you of a couple of things. Let me just transition over to here. There we go. You can still see us and see the slide. So you get some scanner questions or need help ordering, you can certainly give us a call at Scanner Master. It's 1-800-722-6637. We're open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And email us any questions that you have support-wise, or even questions about, I saw that you were speaking about this during the Scanner Guys. Can you tell me a little bit more about it, or send me a link? Support@scannermaster.com would be that email address. And then you can shop us 24/7 online at scannermaster.com. Don't forget to sign up for the Scanner Master newsletter. This is certainly a great source of information. If you're looking for upcoming sales and new products, certainly sign up for the newsletter at scannermaster.com. So next week's show is to be determined by you, the viewer. You want to make sure that you go to our website, The Scanner Guys at Weebly, thescannerguys.weebly.com, and vote for your show topic. We have 3 topics to choose from. The Home Patrol 2, why consider that radio, the odd scanner accessories, and classic scanners. So those are the 3 topics that we are going to more than likely cover one of those next week. It's going to be your vote. So make sure you vote on the website, and that's thescannerguys.weebly.com. We'll be on July the 1st. As you know, Rich will be smelling nice and clean because that's his bath day. 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. We will not be broadcasting from Rich's tub, so don't have to worry about that.
Well, we could if you want, but I usually charge extra for that.
Yeah. Anyway, as a reminder, we showed you Rich's Stack Shack, which is right behind his shoulder. We're looking.
Or maybe I can charge people if I don't do that.
Yeah, they probably will pay to not see that. We'll start a GoFundMe or one of those things, and then we'll be able to do that road trip just from that alone, I think. So stupid scanner tricks, and send in your shack photos. Definitely you could do that. You want to email the scannerguys@gmail.com. Remember, support questions, don't send them here because we don't monitor this 24/7. You want to do that at support@scannermaster.com. But this email address, send us your stupid scanner tricks and your shack photos. Make sure you include a description so we know what's going on there and we can relay that out to our viewers. So if you're a rail fan, as many of you are, make sure you check out my blog, trainaficionado.com. You can follow, like, and subscribe to my social media as well on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure you check out my social media for all of my stuff regarding Train Aficionado, my blog. And then make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to Scanner Master on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And also, you want to check out the Scanner Guys as well. We have our own social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And make sure while you're watching this right now on this channel, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a beat here. So those are some of the information we wanted to pass along to you. Any other last-minute questions before we wrap this up this evening?
Oh, well, we got another show topic idea from Joe. Says we could talk about what our favorite scanner models of all time. So I think quickly on that one, I would probably say probably the 2004.
For me, it'd be the 780 XLT for a base unit, and then for a handheld, the radio that I actually had two of them. Handheld was the BC 246. Which was one of my favorite radios that I had for many years. Let me just put it this way. I used that radio so much that I wore off the lettering on the keypad.
Yeah, I had a Pro 43, which I did that. But my favorite handheld scanner of all time probably had to be the BC 200 XLT. That one was hypersensitive on low band. It was a great skip receiver. So
yeah.
And then the final bottle count, or the FBC, is 4. For all those who had 4 in the pot, you win.
Yeah, and I'm still working off of my. It's pretty much empty right now. My big blue bottle here. So I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know this was a longer show than normal, but we hope that you join us again next week. And remember, you're picking the topic, so make sure you visit our website, thescannerguys.weebly.com, and vote. The votes will keep coming in until Friday at midnight, and then we'll have a decision. You'll be able to see it on our social media, which topic we end up picking. And of course, Monday morning, you'll be able to see it on Radio Reference as well, listed there what the topic will be. So hopefully your topic gets picked, and we'll talk about it next week.
Sounds like a plan for me.
Yeah, if you made it this far through the broadcast on the replay, congratulations. Or if you made it through the broadcast while we were live this far, congratulations as well. We enjoy doing this, and I think that'll wrap it up for us.
Works for me. Have a great one, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk to you next week right here on YouTube. Have a great night.
Good night, guys.
All right, bye-bye.